Hi, this is Lewis Harrison, and I'm As Lewis. And what we're going to be doing today is talking about game theory and applied game theory and how it develops for people in their lives. They always say life is a game, and we really do deal with life as a game. But it's become more and more apparent that this is how the world is working right now. Um, Game theory is the analysis of strategic interactions among rational players. In the real world, strategic interaction occurs all the time between people, animal species, even among companies or armies or even robots. If you play video games or you watch a TV show like Billions, you're watching game theory in action all the time. So in game theory, the outcome of the interaction depends not just on the rational choices made by an individual, what we call a player or agent, but by the action chosen by several other individuals, agents, or players in the game of life. So survival of the fittest in biology, or maybe even hiring a contractor to build your house, playing any board or video game, or even a clone war among programmed robots, these are all applications of game theory. And one of the challenges in game theory, of course, is that the assumption is made that all the players are in fact rational. But I have learned that this is actually very often not the case. And so when you're dealing with people who are not rational, well, what do you do? And so I'm sort of in my own exploration of game theory when it became clear that most individuals are not rational at all, but actually frame or present their emotional responses in ways that make them appear rational. I needed to really do something to integrate this in my life. Now, of course, people do this for a reason. Why would anybody take irrationality and try and make it appear rational? Well, we do this because humans are social creatures. And this approach enables any of us to be accepted by a group that we feel connected to. So with this in mind, I sort of created a concept I'll call holistic applied game theory, or Harrison's applied game theory. But we call it HACT for short, H-A-G-T, it's pronounced HACT. And HACT is an umbrella term for hundreds of game-based approaches to problem solving and self-awareness. HACT is based on game theory, but it combines logic, rational thought, deep introspection, and also intuition. And these processes create effective, efficient, precise, and productive strategies for solving problems. The goal of HACT ultimately is to maximize meaningfulness in your life, love, kindness, compassion, empathy, joy, freedom, clarity of thought, emotional balance, personal contentment, inner wisdom, and happiness. And also, it leads to collaboration. So whereas in classic game theory, you're really dealing with sort of win-lose scenarios much of the time, that's not the case here with HACT. Because with HACT, what you're looking to do, if possible, is have everybody win. Now, of course, that's not always possible. Some people just insist on having everybody else lose and having them win. But with HACT, you actually have great strategies for making that happen. So why is this so important? Well, in recent years, it's become apparent to any attentive observer that game-based scenarios are becoming an increasing element of daily living. For today's youth, the steadily extended period of play and schooling in the 21st century comes as a result of the increasing complexity of our world and also the technology. You have 9-year-old kids on smart devices with 50 apps, texting each other, YouTube videos, TikTok, all these different things. These are all game-based strategies, and yet they don't know how to apply it to make wise choices in their lives. So there's a lot of changes happening right now, and these changes demand an increased intricacy of skills, as well as more exhaustive ways of developing an approach to winning in life. These are prerequisite abilities that you have to have. You can't just pick them up as you move along. And in these complex times, many of the behavioral and emotional problems that are associated with adolescence are likely to increase in number and intensity. These problems can distort the thinking of young children and teens as they try and cope with the increased demands placed on them. Demands which have become increasingly abstracted from the work and expectations of adulthood. So with software developed explicitly for kids, many young children will learn to use computers and they'll develop gamer thinking and strong competitive skills before they even get out of a sandbox. So, by the teen years, these individuals may have mastered gamer thinking or been crushed by the competitive gamer thinking of their peers. Soon, the more skilled a player a person is, as they move into adulthood, the more they will either suffer or prosper, depending on how they can apply those skills. I call this gamer thinking. Over time, the gamer thinking process can become ever more complex and stressful. And this is because, in part, the norms in our fast-paced digital world change so quickly that there is a constant reshaping and redefining of many of what we would call life games. When viewed from the perspective of gamer thinking, the immaturity of childhood is a time of experimental play, and there is no really a severe consequence because you have hopefully rational adults hoping to guide you. Here we can spend a great deal of time observing the actions of skilled others in coordination with oversight by and activity with our guardians, parents, teachers, mentors, and in time, a teenager will learn to reinterpret, imitate, and practice in various forms of play, maybe sports or games or puzzles. We also learn to survive and prosper as we explore the limits of our natural abilities in interacting with the world. There was a point for many of us, usually in our teen years, when our parents and guardians told us it was time to grow up and stop playing games. And maybe parents still do that. They'll tell their kids, stop playing video games, it's time to grow up, it's time to be in the real world. That is really bad advice. Though the advice was certainly offered with good intentions, it's probably the worst advice they could have given us. What they needed to tell us and what they need to tell kids now is there's some point you will need to see the world through adult eyes, and it will be time to learn adult games. We now know that human teens have much in common with their counterparts throughout the animal kingdom concerning gameplay and risk-taking. Research shows that a wide variety of species, even fruit flies, and of course pumas and lions, tigers, and bears, oh my, and humans alike, usually have to negotiate 4 specific competencies when entering adulthood from teen years. 1, they want to be safe and they need to learn ways to create safety. 2, socialization. We're social creatures. We're competitive and we are hierarchical. So any teenager is going to know how to navigate hierarchy or they're going to get crushed. We need to court potential mates. This doesn't matter whether you're straight, you're gay, you're trans, you're gender fluid. Humans are social animals, and they want to connect with other humans, and very often that is in relationships, whether they're monogamous or polyamorous. They still have to court potential mates. And we also need to have self-reliance, and that means accessing food, shelter, water, things you can learn from studying Abraham Maslow's hierarchy of needs. If a teen is not a skilled game-based thinker, life can quickly become a harsh reality. To make things more complex, research indicates that teens of many species are hardwired to put themselves at risk, in peril, as they experience challenges, setbacks, and triumphs moving from teen years into adulthood. And in fact, this often takes place as a rite of passage. A biologist writes of California sea otters who knowingly enter the great white shark-inhabited Triangle of Death off the coast. This risky behavior among human teens might seem irrational, but it actually makes evolutionary sense. Yes, the crucial, vulnerable, and exhilarating phase of life between childhood and adulthood can be rife with risks. Yet ultimately, it is all about testing boundaries. By testing boundaries through excessive, risky behavior, an adolescent will enter adulthood with a greater understanding of what is needed to survive and prosper. In the wild, all of these risk takers may not survive, but the ones that do survive will be much more skilled at winning the game of life. So the baby bear that explores the lion's den may not make it out alive. For human teens who have some rational adult supervision, extremely reckless behavior can be nipped in the bud before any real damage is done. If a teen is provided with training in gamer thinking, what was previously considered risky behavior becomes much less so. Up until recently, it was unlikely that a tween, a young adult, or a college student would be aware of the terms game theory or gamer thinking, even when spending hours a day playing video games. Occasionally, college students might encounter a short introduction to classical game theory as part of a business or economics program, but otherwise the concept would sadly be ignored in most other academic disciplines. This is likely to change soon. Recently, in November 2019 to be specific, the University of Alaska in Fairbanks announced plans to incorporate competitive video gaming, esports, into student curriculum and also in activities. Citing student interest, the school intends to offer a business class soon related to esports. The critical aspect here is that it is likely that many students in such a program will intuitively understand that the skills gained in their studies here will give them a doorway to greater success in life. A class already offered by the School of Management helped organize the university's esports and gaming summit last year. It drew about 300 people and featured esports industry professionals. Of course, all that is being described here points to gamer thinking as a future trend for creating success in business and in day-to-day life. As you can see, as we finish here, that learning to become a game-based thinker is a progressive process beginning in childhood. We go from the sandbox to learning how to play with dolls like Barbie or G.I. Joe, and in time, skilled game-based thinkers will advance to become creative and innovative problem solvers, and skilled competitors through the use of symbols and tools that give us access to new ideas will prosper even more. It would be a mistaken judgment for any motivated individual to ignore gamer thinking. Clearly, gamer thinking, game theory, and hack is not a trend. It is the new reality. If we ignore it, we are planting the seeds for future situations where we are likely to be without the skills needed to deal with life's challenges. Thanks for listening in. I hope that you've learned something here about game theory, applied game theory, and gamer thinking. I hope you will subscribe to this podcast. And if you want to learn more about the work that we're doing, go to asklewis.com. That's ASKLEWIS. And I will talk to you soon. Have a great life.